In this tutorial, we're going to introduce the last two of the 5 basic algorithm constructs. So far we've talked about assignment. So we had some code, something like let x equal 5, in which we assigned the value of 5 to the variable x. We've also talked about sequence. And a sequence is a set of instructions that are followed one after the other. The third construct we talked about was the idea of iteration, where instructions are repeated. Today we are also going to address two others, known as selection and condition. And these two are very much tied together. But to get there, we're going to do another little bit of code on the side, and then we are going to introduce those ideas. So our goal today is to sum or get the total of all the numbers 1 to 100. That's our first goal. And what I have here is the code and the pseudocode from our previous video. So in our previous video we introduced this idea of a for loop. So we had for, and we created a variable called counter, and we let it run from 1 to 100, and we printed each of those numbers and repeated. Then we turned that into code, and we did a for loop, and then in the parenthesis we had 3 values. We had the establishment or the assignment of a value to a variable. Then we had, well, a condition that must be held to be true. And then we also had this increment or change in the value of counter each time it went through the loop. So how are we going to modify this so it sums or gives a total of all these values? Well, the first thing we need is somewhere to store this. So we need to create a variable. So in pseudocode, we initialize a variable if we're giving it a value to start with. So init total equals 0. So I will add that to my keyword list. Define your language. So init, it's a keyword, so it should be bolded. So I'm going to add that to my language. Define your language. Keywords list for pseudocode. And I'm just going to add init. And I will also add declare. Rightio. We'll close that. And now init is a keyword in my language, so my language formatting will bold it automatically for me. So init total equals 0. Now what's going to happen each time it goes through the loop? Well, we want to increase the value of total by whatever the counter is. So we are going to go set total equal to total plus whatever the value of the counter is. So this will take the current value of total, so initially 0, and add the first value of counter. So 0 plus 1 is going to be 1, so it'll set total to 1. And then it will come through the second time, and this will equal 1. So 1 plus 2 will equal 3. And then over time, it will add all those numbers up. And at the end, we will print the value of total. So once again, this set keyword, it needs to be part of my language. So I will say set, and I will add get as well. Right. So that's my pseudocode. Initialize a variable called total with value of 0. Run a loop. Each time increase the value of total by 1, by whatever the value is of counter, and then print it out at the end. Okay, so let's go to our code. Now we've got our pseudocode, we can just convert this and translate it to normal code. So init total equals 0. So let total equals 0. Do I need to change this line? No. But this line in the middle, I'm not printing the value of that. I'm going to go total equals total plus whatever the counter is. And then I'll print this out at the end, console.log total. And I will save, and it should run. And there it is, it gives me the answer, 5,050. So if we just decompose this algorithm, what do we have? We have assignment, iteration, we've got some assignment here, and we just have some display. What we're going to do now is we're going to change our goal. We're not going to sum all the numbers from 1 to 100. We're going to sum every even number from 1 to 100. So we're going to sum every even number from 1 to 100. So how are we going to do this? Well, let's just break down our logic. First of all, we need to create a counter to something to hold the value 0. We need to loop through 1 to 200. Now we don't always want to do this. We only want to do it if the counter is an even number. So if counter is divisible by 2. Now there are other ways of doing this, but we want to introduce this idea of condition and selection. If counter is divisible by 2, then change the value of the total, and then end if, and then print out the total. So all we changed in our code was we put this condition around it. If the counter is divisible by 2, then run that. So how do we do that in code? Well, we go if, parenthesis, counter is divisible by 2. Now how can we work out if something is divisible by 2? Well, one way of doing it is to do remainders. So if I divide a number by 2 and it's even, the remainder is going to equal 0. So 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1, remainder 0. If it's odd, the remainder will be 1. So say 3 divided by 2 is going to be 1, remainder 1. So if I can hold that remainder, I can work out if the value is even or odd. So the way we do remainders is we use the modulus operator, which is percentage. If counter percentage 2 is equal to the value of 0, that means we'll have an even number, and then we put in the curly brackets. Now what did I do here? I didn't just write 1 equals, I wrote 3 equals. Now why did I do that? Now if I write 1 equals, like here, that's assignment. That sets the value to be something. But I don't want to set the value to be something. I want to compare values. So the way you can compare values for equality is to do 3 equal signs instead. Because comparing for equality is different to assigning a value. So now my code matches, and if I save this, it will run, and my total is 2,550. So this is a condition. It's something that will evaluate to be true or false. Either the remainder equals 0, true, therefore run the code, or it's false, where the remainder is not equal to 0. So that's what a condition is. It's true or false. But I'm going to change our goal again. Let's complicate this. Our goal is to sum every even number from 1 to 100 as one total, and all the odd numbers as another total. So now we need to have 2 totals running, a total for even and a total for odd. So let's just work through our code. So let's all just make this clear it's for even. So total for even is going to be this. And I will change that over here as well. And now I need to create a total for odd. So I'm going to initialize another variable, init total odd equal to 0. Now down here I'm actually going to run selection. Do one thing or do another thing dependent on a condition. So we already have a condition here. So if this is true, do this. If that is not true, so else set total odd equals total odd plus whatever the counter is. And if. And I'll print total even. I'll print total odd. So let's just check out my pseudocode. Create my variables. Run through all the numbers. If it's even, add it to this. If it's odd, add it to the other one. Then print the two values out at the end. So this is my algorithm. It's a sequence of instructions to perform a task. So we go over here and we transcribe this. So let total odd equals 0. And then for the else, we go else, parenthesis, total odd equals total odd plus counter. Then I will console log total odd. I'll save that. And it's printed out 2,550 and 2,500. Now how can I verify this works? How do I know this is correct? Well, I remember from earlier, when I added all the numbers from 1 to 100, it gave me the value 5,050. So I could go 2,550 plus 2,500, and that matches my value from earlier on, so I know my algorithm has executed correctly. It is reliable and it is reasonably efficient. So in this tutorial, we've covered the ideas of selection and condition. Our condition is this part here. It's something that can be said to be true or false. It's the question that is asked. And in the code, that is here. That is the condition. The selection part is the if-else. That means it depends, the instruction to run, total even or total odd, depends on the condition. So this is the condition and the selection is one or the other. So now we've covered the 5 basic constructs of an algorithm. Assignment, where we assign one value to another. Sequence being the instructions followed one after the other. Iteration, where instructions repeat. The condition, and the idea of selection. And additionally, we've added some new ideas in our pseudocode. When we create a variable with a value, we initialize it. And we also added this if, then, else, and if idea. We did this idea of set. Now, if you don't like the idea of set, you could be more explicit and go calculate. And that's quite clear what is being instructed. And then you just convert these into instructions over here in the code. So we've made some good progress, and we'll expand and write some more algorithms over the coming lessons.